I'm Nick, and this is the Silverstone FLP02. This is a case that we checked out at Computex.
You may not know this, I am a retro PC collector. I have a massive collection.
And the idea behind this case is to really bring back that retro aesthetic, but support all modern hardware. Let's take a little bit of a closer look at the FLP02, and spoiler alert, not all is what it seems with what I've got planned for this case. Let's take a closer look. Here it is, ladies and gents, what you've all been waiting for, the Silverstone FLP02. This case comes in at around about 472 millimeters deep, 232 millimeters wide, and 494 millimeters tall. One of the most unique things about the FLP02 is the front design, giving it that really retro aesthetic. As well as that, it does have some very unique features. It has a rocker switch for a power button. It's got a key lock that will lock both the power switch and the reset button. There's a turbo button that sets the fan speed to max speed, even if PWM is plugged in. The rocker switch has a nice little click to it. As well as that, the key lock, as I mentioned, does lock out both the reset button and the power button. So if you want a bit of security for some reason, you've got that. Removing both of the side panels is exactly the same for both the front and the back. There's two captive thumb screws on each panel, and you want to loosen those panels, and then you can slide the panel back and then lift it up and then away from the case. To remove the front panel, it's very easy. It's magnetic. Just put your finger underneath the bottom lip, and then you can pull that panel away from the case. And to remove the top panel, there's a single captive thumb screw up there. You want to loosen that screw, and then you can lift that panel up and away from the case. There are 3 filters on the case, 2 of which are on removable panels. So the first one is on the top panel, and that is completely removable, so you can unclip it from that top panel. And then there's a filter that's integrated into the front panel of the case, and there's also one underneath the power supply, but I don't really show those anymore because that's pretty standard for most cases. The FLP02 does feature front I/O, which is hidden. There's a little flap. You can flip it down, and then it will expose 2 USB Type-A ports, a USB Type-C port, and a combined headphone and microphone jack. As for the wiring, we have a PWM control cable. There's the front panel block for all the lights and all the switches. There's a front panel audio cable. There's a USB Type-C cable and a USB Type-A cable. Inside the case, you'll notice that all of the pre-installed fans are plugged into this PWM hub. This PWM hub is also connected to the front panel for that turbo button, as well as that there is SATA power on here to power this hub. This is where it starts to get fun with storage. So there's 2 removable drive sleds here on the inside front of the case, and they're removable with 2 screws. There's a screw on the back and the front side. This will allow you to install either a 3.5-inch hard disk or a 2.5-inch SSD. There's also another drive cage, which will allow you to install 2 more 3.5-inch drives. That is removable with a thumb screw on the bottom of the case. And then on the back of the motherboard tray, there's 2 2.5-inch drive sleds, and that's also removable with captive thumb screws. However, because of the design of this case, it doesn't end there. We have 3 5.25-inch drive bays. Each of these covers looks like a floppy drive. Basically, you unclip them, you then remove them from the case, and then it opens up that drive bay. So let's say you wanted to install an optical drive. You could. Well, you'll see what we do later on in the video if you haven't figured it out already. All of the blanking plates have a little locking mechanism as well. So yeah, keep hold of these just in case you're not using any optical drives up front. Finally, the top drive bay is notched because if you're not using the top drive bay for anything, you can install a 360mm liquid cooler, which I'll come back to in a moment, but it does come with a bracket to allow you to use that top bay as well. Speaking of the top, as I already mentioned, you can install up to 3 120mm fans, 2 140mm fans, or 2 160mm fans, and for liquid cooling, up to a 360mm liquid cooler, including support for 280mm liquid coolers as well. At the front, you can do up to 2 120mm fans. There's 2 pre-installed fans already. The front fans are easily removable by removing these 4 screws, and that will allow you to change the fans if you like. Finally, there is a single pre-installed 120mm fan at the back. However, you can install up to a 140mm fan back there. As for motherboard support, the FLP02 will allow you to install from ITX up to SSI CEB, so you can fit absolutely massive motherboards in here. And for the maximum CPU cooler height for an air cooler, you can install up to a 182mm tall cooler. The FLP02 has a super adjustable GPU support bracket. It will basically allow you to adjust the bracket in all axes, so you can do left and right if you're looking at it from the side. You could do up and down, as well as changing the offset of the brackets themselves. So let's say you want it to hug the card, you can do that too. And there's also vertical GPU support built in with a 2-slot card. Let's say you're liquid cooling and that's something you wanted to do. You can do that very easily. As well as that, all of the brackets for the slot cutouts are removable, so you can put in a vertical GPU bracket as well. To achieve the maximum GPU clearance, you will need to remove those drive sleds and the vertical GPU bracket to get inside. Once you remove those, the maximum supported length for a graphics card is 386mm, and you can see this absolutely massive Aorus 5090 fits in there with no problems whatsoever. Guys, here's the deal. While I could build a modern PC in the FLP02, I honestly don't think that would do this case justice. Let's do the opposite. Let's build retro. This is a board that we've already featured on the channel. This is the Asus P2BD, and this is a dual slot 1 Pentium 2/Pentium 3 motherboard. Now, when I first showed this on the channel, I showed me testing this out with dual Pentium 2 350s. That's because this board was a new old stock, never been used board, and I wanted to know if it would still work. But what I've done here is something slightly different. I've now fitted it with 2 Pentium 3 500s, and in ABS plastic, I have 3D printed 2 new shrouds, so I can fit some much more modern fans on here, because these stock fans are insanely loud. I've got, I think it's 768 megs of RAM in total here, and that's basically it. You can see that I've got this IDE to SATA adapter that uses a regular SATA cable for drives, because I like using SSDs even on old things. Yeah, the purists may not like that, but I don't care. This is the way to do it in 2025. It will save you money, it will save you time. There are other ways to do it, but yeah, this is the way I want to do it, because compact flash cards are all well and good, but if you use any operating system that isn't Windows 98, then yeah, compact flash cards are no good. Having a dual Pentium 3 500 is only telling half of the story, because, my friends, I have a dual Voodoo 5 5500. By that I mean this has 2 graphics processors in SLI on a single card. This is one of the first, if not the first, graphics card to ever feature dual graphics cores, or 2 GPUs, but yeah, this was before they were called GPUs. Back in the day, this thing was an absolute freaking monster. There were some faster cards out there, but nothing as cool as the Voodoo 5 5500. In this age of computing, there were no integrated sound cards on motherboards. Well, they were, but at least not on the board that I've got, which is where the Sound Blaster Live 5.1 comes in. However, this card is the CT4830, not as good as the other versions of the Sound Blaster Live. This is technically a Sound Blaster Live value, but my friends, this is also only half of the equation with this sound card, because I have something really, really cool to go in this system. And my friends, that's right, I have a creative live drive to go in here. I've said it to you guys many, many times, or if you're new here, I am truly a hoarder of retro PC tech. I quite literally have everything. This motherboard doesn't have integrated Ethernet, but what year is it? That's right, ladies and gents, it's the year of 3Com. 3Com being one of the dominant forces in networking of the time. So obviously, this is getting a 3Com network card. I can't remember the model, but it works. All of this hardware works. This has all been tested, and it works. One of the only not period correct things in this is going to be this 120 gig SSD. My friends, this is way more than enough storage for this system. Like maybe even too much. Finally, we need an optical drive. I've got this DVD-RW drive. This one was chosen purely because out of all of the probably 100 optical drives that I have, this one suits the color the most out of all of them. It's yellowed a little bit, but not too much to make it too yellow. It's actually perfectly matched to this case. First of all, I'll need to remove the GPU support bracket. I don't think I'll need this. The thing is with this motherboard, this is a new old stock board. I think I mentioned that already, but it doesn't have the IO shield with it because a lot of cases when this motherboard came out had integrated IO shields in the cases themselves. Look at that, not much has changed in like 25 years since this board came out. This thing is not coming apart, by the way. I have decided already that I will be keeping this as one of my retro gaming systems because it's kind of perfect. By kinda, I mean, it is perfect. This is the exact case that I was trying to find for a system that I was trying to keep because essentially, guys, I have a system built from every generation except this generation here. And I was looking for retro cases all over eBay and Facebook Marketplace, and people know what they've got now, so they're very expensive. All right, there's something interesting with this case. I mentioned that the top drive bay was notched, but there's also a little bracket that comes with it. So if you wanted to put a 5¼ inch drive in, you can do that as well. So you're not losing the ability to use that top space, which means, my friends, right at the top, we are going to put in the most obvious thing in the world, this DVD-RW drive. You ready for it? DVD-RW drive right up top. Oh, look at that. It looks so freaking good. Oh man. Oh, this is so cool. There's only one thing that I'll have to come back to at another time is I need to find a new cable for the live drive to plug into the sound card. But look at that. Oh, it looks so sick. Oh, I'm so excited for this, guys. Oh, it looks so cool. I'm gonna leave that in there just because it looks nice. I do have a 5¼ inch floppy drive, but I don't want to put it in because I just won't use it. But these two little ditties here will absolutely get used. I'm going to install my SSD into this drive setup here, but I'm going to move it back to its default location, which is down the bottom here. I think it's just going to look a little bit cleaner for this build. You'll have to remove 2 screws, as I've already mentioned a bit earlier in the video, to remove these drive sleds. This will make it a little bit easier a little bit later on if I need to swap drives around or whatnot. And I kind of like having these on retro computers, just makes life a heck of a lot easier because I do like to keep my retro systems as close to genuine as possible when it comes to the experience with stuff. However, I do like to use more modern drives because they are a whole lot more reliable. That being said, this SSD is like very old. One of the only modifications I need to make to the FLP02 is de-pinning the front panel connector for all the lights and switches and stuff, because back at this time with ATX, it was non-standardized and I need to just put new connectors on them. So the way I would usually do this is just get something to unpick them, slot them out, and then you put in new terminal blocks. So I've got a whole bunch of these. I collect this stuff because, like I said, I'm a hoarder for tech. And I'm just going to quickly repin these and then plug them in. Quick little repinning job later. I put little white marks on them with some white paint just to show what they are when I go back, so I'll know exactly what they are when I plug them in. The ones that don't have anything on the ends of the terminal are for switches, and the ones that have the white paint on the end of the terminal are the positives for the lighting. So yeah, that's how you know. That's how I know now. All right, friends, time for expansion cards. We're going to start off with our friend, the Voodoo 5 5500. It'll only go into one slot because this is the error for it, the AGP slot at the top of the board. And then what I wanted to do before doing any of the other expansion cards is, the keynote out there would have seen the digital audio interface at the back here. This comes from the live drive. I fed this through a little bit earlier. I'll just put this in there while I'm thinking about it, otherwise I'll forget. And then I'm going to put the Ethernet card at the bottom PCI slot. I also need to salvage some other cables for CD audio, but I think it's okay for now. We won't go into that too much. I think I will put the sound card right here. Pretty much even spacing between all of the cards, skipping every second slot. So in goes our Sound Blaster Live. Bob is your dad's brother. This is the power supply that I've used for all of the testing for this system as it is, so I decided to use it because I know it works, and it's one of the few power supplies that I have now that allows you to split the 24-pin power cable into a 20-pin power cable, because that's what these older motherboards require. I did some basic cable management, as you can see here, nothing too fancy. To be honest, there's not that much going on inside. If we flip it around, you'll see exactly what I mean by that. I did some cable management on the inside here too, and it's relatively clean. I guess the last thing is to find out if it all works. Let's power it up. This is the oldest monitor that I have. I don't have any CRTs or anywhere to store them. So yeah, this is all we get. It is a beige monitor though, and this is probably from, I'm gonna say 1999, one of the really early LCD monitors. It's like some TFT thing, it's really crap, but it will do exactly what we wanted to do. So let's power up, cross our fingers, hope for the best, and see if it does the thing. Friends, here we go. Post, Voodoo 5 5500, Pentium 3 500 megahertz processor. Hopefully it says CPUs detected 2. Also, I was right about how much RAM I thought the board had. I couldn't remember. 2 processors detected. It's going through, detecting all the drives. It'll detect the SSD as well as that DVD-RW drive, and hopefully we'll boot into Windows 2000. I think that's what's on here. Yeah, look at that, Windows 2000. I actually have Windows 98 from an older install that's dual booted on here. But my friends, we're gonna boot into Windows 2000 from an SSD in a modern case. This is freaking awesome. This is so cool. Look at it. Look at it, Claire, it's doing the thing. I just wanted to get to the desktop. I know that this installation works with these 2 CPUs because I've already tested this, like I mentioned. I was tinkering with this for quite a while. In fact, I've played games on this setup too, and they run really, really well. We'll see what the deal is now. So we're going to launch Quake 3 Arena just to show you what the deal is, because we have a Voodoo 5 5500, no CD key, don't worry. Oh, look how good that runs. This is so good. Oh man, look at that. That is freaking awesome. Look at it, Quake 3 running at very high frames. You can see I've got the frame rate counter. I set that in the launch parameters for this. As well as that, I do have the launch parameters for multi-CPU because Quake does support multiple CPUs, and that's exactly how this is running with both Pentium 3s absolutely charging. Look at that. This thing is flying, man. Unreal Tournament Game of the Year edition. Probably one of the greatest first-person shooters of all time. In fact, this is probably the best Unreal Engine game given what's going on with Unreal Engine right now. Oh, that's so good. Oh, I'm actually getting that real nostalgic feeling of the monitors being crappy enough for this to look awesome. Oh, this is so good. The sensitivity is all over the place. This is so good. Oh, this is awesome. I don't even care about dying and stuff. This is so freaking good. Oh man, I'm so keen to play more games on here. I do have a whole bunch of stuff already installed on this computer. Man, look at that. I think I'm running the Glide API as well, just because why wouldn't I, right? Preferences. Yeah, 3DFX Glide for Windows. Let's go. Man, this is so freaking sick. I can't believe it. Ah, I can't wait to flex on the forums about how good my computer is. Well, there you have it, you lovely people. My new dual Pentium 3 gaming PC with a Voodoo 5 5500, all in the brand new Silverstone FLP02. Let us know what you think of this case. Again, this was one of the standout things that I saw from Computex this year, and I'm so glad that I finally got my hands on one. And yeah, hopefully you learned something in this video. I'm not quite sure what, but I'm out. I'm going to America now. Goodbye.